Lovers Quarrel. It's a long, sustained quarrel.
What's going on, world?
Hey, everybody.
It's your guy, TJ, Mr. New Cool.
And it is your helplessly harried hamster, Dani.
Okay. Come through with the sound effects.
I do what I can.
What was the second word?
Harried.
Never heard that before.
Harried means, and actually I'll give you the formal definition, but basically it means like you're stressed out.
Got you.
But harried means feeling strained as a result of having demands persistently made on one.
Okay. Trying to use some new words. I feel like you're trying to embark on my, word of the week.
I'm not, because I knew what harried meant before I used it, but
I'm going to let the listeners... Sorry, I'm going to let the lovers think that, because I just seen you look at your phone for the...
No, I said I'll give you the formal definition, but what did I say? I said before I even looked it up, I said stressed out.
I don't think we know if that's true or not. But go ahead. How are you doing? Well, obviously you're stressed out. What's got you stressed, Dani?
I mean, we could jump right into the to our elevator if you really want to know why.
Your stress is your elevator?
Part of it.
All right. Well,
So
going down.
So y'all have been listening for a year and a half, however long y'all been rocking with us, and you know that the major point of my stress has always been grad school and the balance that is.
May 22nd.
So I am in the last mile of the way. By the time y'all hear this, I will be 2 days away from my final submission of my portfolio. And then it's in my review panel in God's hands about passing. And then it's all, I'm going to claim it when all goes well. I will be graduating. But I'd be lying if I said I'm not stressed the fuck out. Like, y'all already know. They ask for so much. And think about it. Anytime you've got like a major deadline and those like weeks leading up to it, you feel the stress in your back and in your neck, and I'm just tense and like stuff aches and hurts, and I'm not sleeping great, and my anxiety is through the roof and stuff like that. So it's the last mile of the way, but it's a fight. It's been a fight the entire time, and I can't wait to be done. But I'd be lying if it wasn't like stressing me the fuck out. But I'm not staying down though. Can I also go up? Are you gonna do me?
Well, I wanted to be down. I have a down and an up, so.
Okay, so you want to do down, up, like a controller?
This could be your solo. Go ahead.
Oh, so I can do my down up and you can do your down up?
Yeah, I'm not even in your elevator.
Oh.
You're in my elevator. So.
Here we go.
So listen, in my elevator is luxury seating, right?
Yeah.
It's nice classical music playing.
Is there an elevator operator?
Yeah, what you mean? Like a person?
Yeah, an elevator operator.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Like the old school ones. This is like
his name is Benson.
His name is Benson.
Yes.
Okay.
And he's very polite.
Okay, so he says like good morning, good evening,
all of that.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Yeah, and he asks you how you doing, all that. So, I just want to paint the picture for people, you know what I mean?
So what's my elevator?
Listen, I don't know what your elevator look like.
You trying to make my sound like my shit's like a project elevator? Like it's pissy?
Well, it might be.
You gotta hold the door close button for it to close?
No, I mean, it has a really nice, your elevator has a really nice voice. I'm just saying, my joint is just fire. I'm just painting a picture. Anyway.
All right, so I can continue on my elevator or your elevator? Anyway.
Benson wants to know, you want to go up now?
I do.
All right, we're going up, guys. That's Benson's voice.
Oh. That's his.
Yeah, we're going up, guys.
Real professional.
We're going up, guys.
Okay, so, in between everything else that I'm doing, I do scroll through these internets and these social media sites, and on Twitter this past week, I have officially become a Jack A. Harry fan. So I don't know how anybody would know this, but Jack A. Harry of 227, of Sister fame.
Sister is probably what most people would know her as.
Younger people, yes. Older people would definitely know 227.
Okay.
So So basically, I follow, of course, Kid Fury and Crystal from the Read, and they've like reposted her several times, and she always kind of said these like little funny things. But somehow she ended up on my timeline again this week. And when somebody else who's verified posted a question, basically it was like, what was the strangest celebrity encounter you've ever had? And Jackie Harry responded to the person and said that Eartha Kitt slapped the shit out of her, and that because she thought she was sleeping with her man. And then she responded, she was like, which I was, but I didn't know that was her boyfriend too. And it just led me to go to her actual like account. And she is consistently funny. Like her clapbacks, her just commentary, A1. And so like, it's always fun when you find somebody who really uses like a social media platform well. And it was just like the necessary laugh that I needed. It's just like, just knowing that the mom from Sister got the shit slapped out of her by Eartha Kitt. And even though like Eartha Kitt and Jackie Harry are like, they're not that close in age. Like Eartha Kitt's dead now, but like, so it's just like, damn, like who was this man that was kind of getting at the old and the young? But then again, Eartha Kitt was she was definitely like a cougar before a cougar was a thing. Because if you think about her in Boomerang, she was like Marcus.
I think that was more of a role, but okay.
I know it was more of a role, but I think that sometimes, art imitates life.
Got you.
So that is my going up. I stand for Jackie Harry. Thank you for bringing a little laughter to my life these days.
All right, Mrs. Byerson, is there anything else before you get off our elevator?
Yeah, because who's your supervisor? Because you are a terrible elevator operator, Benson.
I think you're just being a hater right now.
I'm not, because you sound like you're ready for me to stop talking.
No, I'm just asking a question.
You sound irritated.
I didn't sound irritated at all.
Okay, so where's my good afternoon, good evening, and good night?
I don't do all that.
Are
you ready to get off?
Yeah, I'm ready to get off your little tired elevator.
Well, you have yourself a wonderful night.
I guess.
Kiss the kids.
Why do you know if I have kids?
I'm assuming.
See, no, you the elevator operator from that movie. What was the movie when they were on the elevator? Devil?
What?
You Benson is not Benson, it's Bokeem.
No.
Yes, it is.
Anyway.
Go ahead.
Listen, Benson was being very nice to you in our plush, exclusive elevator with seating. Now let me get into your tired elevator with the great voice. You got a great voice, though.
Going down.
So, I wanted to say... Nipsey Hussle funeral was at the Staples Center. And tickets were free. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of piece of shit people who were trying to resell tickets.
Free tickets, yeah.
Like, they were free tickets, and people were trying to make a markup off of it. And, it just shows you that a lot of people ain't shit. Mm-hmm. Like, this was a free event, and you're trying to charge people. Like, not everybody, but a lot of people try to come up on stuff that you don't always got to come up on. Like, this is to celebrate somebody's life, and you are trying to make a buck off of it. So I thought
everything
that
ain't
was
a hustle.
Shitty.
I agree.
And then I watched the funeral, and
I caught some parts of it.
It was sad to like see, but it's also like a positive. So now we can go up.
Going up.
To see the funeral, like to see all the love that he got, to see, President Obama's, writing a letter, just everybody there.
21,000 people.
Like, he was loved.
I was moved to tears several times. Like, the little bit I caught, I'm actually probably going to get teared up right now. But...
Which parts did you see?
I
don't cry, but when the kids was on the stage...
Almost got you.
Oh, that was tough.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that part.
Oh, no.
Because I was still driving or like school. I was still school mode. So when I left work, I caught his brother. Like, that's when I came in. So that was
his
like...
His brother was good. I liked his brother's speech.
Yeah.
I didn't like Snoop Dogg's speech.
So what I'll say is this, is that in times of mourning, people express themselves really differently. And like, obviously this wasn't a typical funeral or service. I mean, obviously there were some things that were very typical, but then there weren't things typical, from the way like people were cursing to the way where it was held.
But I like that.
But I can appreciate it.
Like,
I wasn't mad at it
if
at
I
all.
die, I want people to be themselves.
Yeah,
I don't want no. Listen, I understand we could be. I understand. Well, they weren't in the house of God, even though they were like godly figures.
Yeah,
but I appreciated that. I appreciated that they were being themselves.
Yeah, and it wasn't for me. The cursing wasn't off-putting to me because they were being authentic. But sometimes when you're talking about someone who has passed, it doesn't always like translate. Like, I think sometimes you know what?
Give me an example.
So like, I guess you know, if you've ever, for y'all who are listening, like if you've ever been to a funeral and like people are up there talking about things that in your mind you're like, is this appropriate that they're sharing? Not. So
what was something that was said that made you think that?
I think was it YG?
Oh, when he said we have light skin.
Like I didn't even hear that part, but like I think it was just the look. Put it like this: everybody isn't the. I think what it is that everybody when you're grieving, people want to share their memories and their stories or whatever. But some people just in general are better speakers than others, and that's I think what I'm getting at.
I will agree with you on that.
So that way sometimes,
but I didn't like that people because I did see some people who were like, did YG say whatever he said? And it's like, he was being authentic, and I don't think he meant it in a way to say like dark-skinned girls weren't pretty.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think funerals is kind of those one times where people should get a pass on what they're saying.
I agree.
Due to, like you're saying, like
emotions
are running.
Yeah.
You may get a little nervous. You may get a little sad. You may get, you know what I mean? Yeah. Grief is hard for a lot of people. Snoop Dogg, like for me, Snoop Dogg's speech, he kind of talked about himself in the speech.
That's another thing. Yeah.
And it was kind of like, it's not about you.
But
maybe he didn't know how to articulate, or maybe he really, you know what I mean, really felt like,
yeah, and that's
this could have been me type shit.
Yeah, and that's what I think that's why I'm saying like sometimes it doesn't translate well because like everything you're saying, like it's like a bullet point. Like, all right, let's say just in general, you're not the best public speaker, period. Now you add on top of the fact that somebody that you deeply cared about is dead.
I can agree with that.
The weight of like how they died, and then you're in front of 21,000 people, you're upset, and then you know it's human nature to think about what that person meant to you and how it affects you. So sometimes when people go up to talk, it does sound like they're talking more about themselves when it's like, especially if it's like not their like immediate family in front of them. So sometimes it can kind of translate funny or like off-putting because it's like, yeah, you're suffering, but like these people are suffering more arguably.
Got you.
So, but like I still thought it was a magnificent celebration of life.
Oh no, it was really,
yeah. And I'm gonna get choked up again, but Lauren London, oh my god, like I saw a little clip of his mom too, like the women, the poise and grace, and maybe because I'm thinking about my own stuff with my dad, but like to be that strong in front of that many people when somebody's ripped away from you, as opposed to like they got sick or they were old or something like that, you know, it's really hard. And, you know, and I think about myself when I was at my dad's funeral, I was just like sobbing through what I had written because, you know, he was kind of torn away from me, but not like that. But he was, you know, he wasn't 33, you know, I wasn't 2. And I think that's the other thing that gets me emotional is our daughter is the same age as his son. And you know, it's funny. It's like, I don't know why I get so upset, but that part I think is why, because terrifies me at the thought of like, you know, a child not knowing their parent who adored them. You know what I mean? And like, because they're too little, they don't remember. Mm-hmm. And so that part breaks my heart for her, because now, like, yes, his memory, he's alive and everybody and everything like that, but it's still not the same as being there, you know? Mm-hmm. So forgive me, y'all, for getting so choked up, but
Talk your shit. It's okay. It's our podcast.
It is. And you know, and I'll say this too, it still does feel a little like off-putting to like
get you something
okay.
Wipe your tears. Continue talking.
I'll continue talking. So it does, and for y'all who listen, like, it does feel a little off-putting to be as emotional as I even am in this moment for someone oh, thank you. He gave me a kiss, y'all. So to be this emotional about somebody who obviously didn't know personally, didn't really know quite honestly, main things I knew about him, his name was Nipsey Hussle. I do remember always thinking that was a really cool ass rap name, because like Nipsey Hussle, and then
Nipsey Russell
is the actor. Like that's his play off of it.
Is it really?
Yes.
I've never heard of Nipsey Russell.
Oh, bless your heart. Because you ain't never seen The Wiz, nigga. That's why.
All right. Anyway, go ahead.
So anyway, and I knew him because he was Lauren London's man, quite honestly. Like, that was my understanding of him. So it still feels like, you know, and I'm being really vulnerable with you and with y'all listening, because it's still like, I still kind of have that like mild embarrassment. Like, how can you get that upset about somebody you didn't know? But it's just, I think, like, it shows like there's, and I think that's the thing, like the impact that he had, because people's humanity trumped their direct connection to him, if that makes sense, you know? Because like, he wasn't a perfect man, but he did a lot with his time, and it was very inspirational. And like, I didn't know any of the shit that he was doing outside of with what he was doing in California and Crenshaw and stuff like that until he passed. Mm-hmm. I just knew that like, you kind of liked him or had listened to him before. I knew Eric banged with him. I knew, and that was it. Like, you know, he was not on my radar like that. But saying that all to say, I think my it brought up a lot of my like feelings about like major loss, like with my dad, and then also too like as a wife and a mom. So forgive me, y'all. I'm getting myself together. I'll blow my nose. Excuse me. And then we will continue. I promise no more tears.
But I just thought that was, that's really loud.
I'm sorry.
I just thought it was it showed how important he was to so many different people.
Uh-huh.
He motivated so many different people. And you know, as I was driving home, I was thinking like, if he would have died from like he drowned or like natural
or like an accident, yeah,
you know what I mean, I think it'd have been different. But for him to be murdered and everything he was doing, like, he was one of the ones that shouldn't have been taken. You know, I mean, again, you never question God is what they say. So, you know, maybe we can learn from it, you know.
It is about taking what someone's done and trying to implement it in your own life.
Listen, for what he did in 33 years and all the recognition he's getting Slauson and Crenshaw Boulevard is being
Nipsey
changed.
Hussle Square.
Like, he's been added to the congressional record.
So his efforts, his works have been added to the U.S. So that means it's just like it's been recognized by the U.S. government.
And we're talking about an African American from the hood who didn't have a lot and found the way.
The son of an immigrant.
Yeah, son of an immigrant. So, you know, I think his death is like, as tragic as it is, it's like you can learn so much.
Absolutely.
And I think the story of Nipsey will forever go. So
I agree. And like, I think that it's it's up to each and every one of us to, you know, recognize him as a person who did a lot of good. Of course, everyone is flawed, but to focus on the positive things that he did and the way in which he went about doing it, especially in our own communities, and go from there, and basically pass the torch, and you know.
But he also kind of showed us that it's okay to do things that isn't normal. It's okay to, you know what I mean, love your woman in public. I mean, again, I took the name Mr. New Cool from J Hill, who's when we interviewed him, he talked about the new cool being things that should already be cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, trying to make it so that way. So, like, being married is cool.
Yeah.
Even though it may not be in the hood.
Yeah.
In reality, it's truly cool. Being a father is cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, hence, the new cool. And Nipsey Hussle, he was, to me, the epitome of the new cool. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He literally talked about, you know,
uplifting his community.
Yeah, uplifting your community, being your own boss, not giving up. Like,
what is it, like, never fold, like, and like the whole, and like, you know, and I think, of course, hindsight being 2020, the verbiage that he used, like, about marathons and victory laps and stuff like that,
and the reading that he did. I mean, honestly, it's kind of like he was preparing us for this. As crazy as it may sound,
a lot of people feel that way
because he kind of said, like, you don't own anybody. I can't remember the speech.
Like, you don't possess people, you experience them.
Yeah, that's so enlightening. Like, the idea that like, it's so deep, knowledgeable. Like, I would have never thought about that, but I'm glad I got to experience Nipsey the way that I did. And, you know, I hope that that inspires others to kind of give back, because he could have been like other rappers who get all the money and leave and never come back, or, you know, don't put nothing back into the community.
Yeah, one way or the other, yeah.
So, you know, the fact that he was thinking about STEM programs and ownership and everything else, I think that's
definitely.
There's not too many of them out there, so.
Yeah, it's not, but, you know, but then we need to, you know, continue to support and uplift and try to embody those people who are out there like that. So. And
ultimately, you know, as people, we just have to start loving each other more.
Agreed.
It's okay to be nice to people. It's okay to say hello. It's okay to just be better people.
Cost you nothing.
It costs you nothing to be nice. And even if somebody's rude to you, you know, we don't have to always be an ego. It doesn't have to always be like, he disrespected me. Like, I think we need to learn how to be more comfortable with ourselves. Mm-hmm. And not worry about the peer pressures of what others may say or think if they're around, you know? A lot of times people do things based off of the peer pressure.
Yeah.
What do people think of me, or what would people think if they heard this story?
Yeah.
So that's it from my elevator.
Well, I appreciate that, and, you know, I'm gonna chalk up my emotions to being a true and through Cancer, because, you know, I'm sensitive about my shit.
It's cool.
But thank you for bearing with me.
Nothing wrong with crying.
It's not, but it's still.
But if I died untimely, right?
I
need you to make sure that, you know, let people talk about me.
Oh. What? Oh, like our wedding where you just wanted people to talk on and on and on?
Yeah. You know,
the whole funeral could be just like remembrances.
I like stories. I actually love stories. I can sit back and talk and hear, like, stories all day. So I just, you know.
It's gonna be a lot of lovable asshole stories.
I don't really think I'm an asshole, but you know.
Okay.
That's crazy to me.
Anyway. All right. Well, now that we have finished up with that, are you ready for your relationship tip of the week?
I am.
So, I'm gonna go first, only because it's. I think it'll be a nice way to tie a bow up on this whole with our Nipsey tribute here. My tip of the week is inspired by them, which is celebrate your partner.
You know what's crazy?
What?
Because my tip is kind of like that.
So is it a tie?
I mean, I win. So anyway, so
what the hell you do?
I always win. So mine was give thanks instead of complaining.
And I think what I was gonna say about celebrating your partner is like I know that sometimes I don't always do that, and then sometimes I don't always feel celebrated. So I'm like, that's something I need to like actively work on, because.
And my thing was that you can do something and I'll critique it or complain, as opposed to just being thankful that it happened.
I agree, and I thank you for recognizing that and verbalizing it.
I agree with you. I thank you for the same words you said.
I can't stand you. Yo.
So are we going to say this is a tie?
Yeah, hell yeah, it's a tie. You don't win.
I mean, I just think because of my averages. So like if we were in the playoffs.
We're not gonna, no. You're not going to try and troll me about with sports references like you did last week.
I'm not. It's not trolling. I'm just saying, like, if it was like a seeding and it was like we played against each other 4 times, but I beat you more times, then I get the higher seeding.
No.
I try, guys.
Because our listeners pick me more often than they pick you. They do. Because I be right. And I
don't know about all that.
Because I'm right. And like I'm good with words.
You're great with words.
And I make sense. And
you trying to say I don't make sense?
I have the better advice.
Anyway, you're not gonna downplay me. It's a tie.
It's the first tie. I'm gonna celebrate the tie.
All right.
Okay. So since we've ended in a tie, and we no need for a tiebreaker, we're gonna move right along into TJ's word of the week.
So my word of the week is going to be sagacity.
Oh. And
sagacity is the trait of solid judgment and intelligent choices. So it says, if you are wise and prone to evaluating information before making a decision, you possess sagacity.
So it's like being sage.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So.
What an excellent word.
Nipsey had
sagacity. I could support that, definitely.
So with that, y'all, we're gonna take a break. You're gonna hear a message from our sponsors, and then we're gonna get on to a lover letter.
Alrighty.
Hey friend, it's time for you to ditch those workout gloves and get the grip and wrist support you deserve. What do you suggest? You need to get the Gainz Load and Lock grips by Gainz Sports Gear. They are more durable than gloves, have a non-slip grip pad that provides grip support and added wrist support unlike your traditional workout gloves, and will protect your hands from calluses. Do they come in different colors? Not only do they come in different colors, but they are available for men and women. Do yourself a favor, go to GainzSportsGear.com. And remember, a better grip equals a better lift. Embrace the process.
Listen, summer is upon us, and it's time for you to embrace your process by getting yourself some new workout gear at GainzSportsGear.com. That's Gainz with a Z, Gainz Sportsgear.com, and you can use our code LOVERS10 to get 10% off your first order. And now, back to the episode. And now we're back.
Alrighty. And it is time for our listener letter, or our lover letter, if it's up to you, right?
I just want to be of the people.
All right. So I'm going to read this and then we're going to have it out. So let's see. Hey, Dani and TJ. So there has been a rise on the perception of men, especially black men. They are framing it as quote unquote toxic masculinity. So my question for you all is, would drugging and robbing or falsely accusing men of acts, I'm assuming those are like sexual assault acts, or running straight to the courts for child support, is that considered toxic femininity? If that's not considered toxic femininity, then what is? Yet again with another loaded question. Do you want to start, or do you want me to?
So what's toxic masculinity?
So toxic masculinity to me is about like behaviors that men display in order to control or dominate. Like, so we know that as a society we have traits that are assigned as masculine and assigned as feminine, but toxic masculinity is when those traits are ones where like the man has to be like aggressive, or it's like about a power dynamic, and it's like, and it hurts or harms other people. So like women, like examples. LGBTQ people. So to me, it's like, okay, toxic masculinity is, the, alpha man, I gotta, beat my chest, caveman mentality. Like, oh, there's a man in my presence who is effeminate, so I have to, make it a point to disrespect them, or put my hands on them, or
prove
my masculinity, because I don't want anyone to think I'm gay just because I'm in the presence or I'm around somebody who's gay.
So that's toxic.
That's toxic masculinity.
Okay.
So I feel like that's a decent explanation.
They're asking is drugging and robbing or falsely accusing men of acts, which Dani thinks is sexual acts, considered toxic femininity?
My answer to that is no, because I don't think toxic femininity is a thing. I think the things that are in this question, like drugging men and sleeping with them after you sleep with them, and to rob them, and falsely accusing a man of a assault, or using the legal system to gain favor or gain financial gain off of the backs of your children, like if you don't have any plans on using that money for your children, all those things are absolutely positively wrong. But I don't think that they equate to toxic femininity. I feel like that's a false equivalency. Like, I think that's something that people are trying to, like, people try to say, or men try to say, some men try to say is a thing, because, oh, well, if there's toxic masculinity, why can't there be toxic femininity? And for me,
so kind of like if someone says, if something is all black, if pretty much like if someone said something was all white, that's racist, but if someone says something's all black, it's okay, kind of like that.
I think it's saying like similar, because like I don't think most black people don't try to like exclude others, but as more so as they try to make an inclusive place for people that look like them. Like, we always have to create spaces for ourselves when you're a marginalized group. Black people are a marginalized group. Women are a marginalized group. So if we create a space for ourselves to feel safe, that doesn't mean that it's toxic to men because you guys aren't included in that. It just means that we need our own space. The world is built around catering to men over women in most ways, and like that's the history of the world. And so I don't think toxic femininity is a thing, because it's kind of like that power dynamic situation, right? So I learned, I guess, when I was in college, but like black people or persons of color can't necessarily be racist. They can be prejudiced towards other people. They can exert their prejudice and stereotypes against another group of people all the time. But to be racist means that you have some type of there's some type of institutional power or domination that exists where you can systemically oppress another group of people. Similarly between men and women, men have, and men as a whole, as a sex or gender, have created where they can systemically and institutionally oppress other marginalized groups like women, like LGBTQ communities. So no, like, and like toxic femininity is it's a false equivalency. Like, it doesn't, because there's one doesn't mean it has to be the other. The stuff in this letter are all things that women in this world have done, which are absolutely wrong.
I think some of it is toxic. I'm not going to say
toxic,
that it's
but I don't think
femininity.
it's a toxic femininity. Yeah.
Listen, I don't know gender, whatever. I think using your children, like doing child support because you can, is toxic. So I don't know if that's considered toxic femininity.
I think it could be considered, an abuse of the legal system. Yes, absolutely. But you can't call it toxic femininity.
But actually, so I'm questioning that. I'm questioning at least on that one, because if someone uses that can oppress their partner. Like, there's so many partners who, like, lives are ruined because of child support. And granted, there are a lot of men who deserve it, but there's also a lot of men who don't deserve it. And people are using it as a pawn because I can. I'm gonna use it. Like,
so I think you kind of answered your own question, which is like, it's not systemic. It's not the prevailing norm. Like, I would go so far as to say that it's not even 50-50 in like the legal system of child support cases. I think that there's definitely a population of women who take advantage, and because the courts tend to
so it's more so about percentages. It's more about it has to be like an overwhelming amount.
Yeah, and it has to be that the system was set up to benefit women, where for all intents and purposes the system was set up to benefit the well-being of the child. Whoever the primary provider is of the child is the one who should be receiving the financial support from the non-custodial parent. But typically women are the custodial parent and so, but at the
they
same
should change that though. They should do it that the child support has to go towards like kind of like HSA or FSA, like for you to use it, it has to be used for the child. So like when you go to use it in the store, these are the items like
WIC.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I like that.
I mean, I think that they're I mean, I'm sure there's an argument out there for why you shouldn't, but like, I think that I can respect having some type of like,
if it's for the child,
justification, like having some type of like, if it's for the having child, receipts.
If it's for the child, that needs to go to the child.
Yeah.
That's just my thing. So it shouldn't have to go towards your rent, because although the child lives there, you should be providing the rent regardless.
Well, that's a slippery slope, because let's say in the case that me and you divorced. Let's not even say me and you, because we're both like gainfully employed. But let's say Jim and Pam they get married, right? They meet, they get married. Jim tells Pam, "I want you to start. We want to start our family. I want you to stay home."
That's different.
But
that's
okay. But
you're using.
But
I'm no.
But let me finish.
You're using a situation that I feel like doesn't happen.
It happens all the time.
Okay.
It happens all the time.
I don't know. Not in a black culture.
It happens. It happens across. It happens across colors.
I don't know a lot of
races.
Okay, well, this is just my opinion. I don't know a lot of black people who's like, you stay home. I want to stay at home wife.
Well, this is where we get back to the institutional stuff, right? So let me kind of follow me, stay with me, okay?
I'm trying to.
All right. So Jim and Pam get married. He says, "I want you to stop working."
See, right there, Jim and Pam, some white names.
Well, because I'm thinking about The Office for whatever reason.
Anyway,
so
you proved my point right there. But
shut
go ahead.
up. They get married. They start a family. He says, like, stay home with the kids or whatnot. Then they get divorced,
Yeah.
right? So now she's been home, a stay-at-home mother for, let's say, 7 years. So even if she were to re-enter the
She'll get alimony.
even if she were to re-enter
She'll
the
get alimony.
workforce, she's not going to be making as much as she would have been because she's lost 7 years of experience, of opportunities, and of potential for advancement.
That's cool.
Because, but let me finish.
I understand that, but if they were married and she wasn't working and he was the breadwinner, she'll get alimony. So again, if she's getting alimony,
Doesn't that depend on the state?
huh?
Doesn't that depend on state to state?
Most states they're gonna get alimony, and we can Google that. But typically, if you're married, you get alimony. Whoever the breadwinner is, because the whole idea is like when you're breaking up, when they divorce, it's about making you whole, like making you fair. So if that does happen, so if you don't get alimony and then you get child support and that child support is needed, then that's a one-off situation. But what if they get alimony?
Well, then
They
that's
get
another story.
alimony
But
and they get child support.
Okay, so then let's take marriage out of the equation because then you got a whole bunch of people who have people on child support who were never married, so their alimony is out of the question.
Okay.
But
those people aren't staying at home. They weren't staying at home. They were working already.
who said that they weren't? Just because you're not married doesn't mean that you weren't a stay-at-home parent.
All right, so
Take the same situation I gave and take out the equation that they got married. They got together. They were in a long-term relationship. She stayed home to
Mitch
raise
and
the kids.
Samantha are in a relationship. They live in two separate places. They got their own. They have their own apartments. Mm-hmm. They have a baby.
They move in together.
They move in together.
Okay.
They break up.
Okay.
So now she needs child support to help pay for her to live somewhere when she was living somewhere previously.
Well, it depends on, is she working? If she's does she have a job this whole time?
Yes.
Okay, then she may not need to use the money for that. But you brought up, I brought up that should not be used for the rent, and I'm saying that there are situations where if there are, that's why it's case by case.
Oh no.
So I'm bringing
on
up the
a one-off
case
situation. I agree with you.
Okay, then.
With a one-off situation, sure, why not? But again, you said married, and typically, if the husband said stay at home, most of the time that person's gonna get alimony. Most of the time. But
everything's a case by case basis, and that's why I said you can't. But it comes back to my point that it can't be considered toxic femininity because it's not a prevailing. It's not institutionalized. It hasn't been embedded in the rules because really it's supposed to be a case by case basis. Some people are married and they get divorced. Some people are working. Sometimes the mother's the breadwinner. Sometimes the father's the breadwinner. Sometimes.
But the systematic part comes. These judges see the same scenarios, so they're not treating it as a case by case basis. They're treating it as, do you have your paperwork? This is a situation. All right, well, we're ruling it in the favor of the woman. So to me, that's systematically an issue, because sometimes the mother may not be fit, but because she's the mother, she gets the rights.
And I said that. That historically, yes, the courts have tend to side with that with the mother, but that's because we are born into a society where the mother is typically the caretaker.
Yeah, but
so systematically social. That's the social part of it.
So we're systematically being taught that the mother is always going to take care of the child. So give the child to the mother. We're not saying what is the situation. Okay, both parents are doing well. Okay, this parent, the father, is able to pay all his bills and do everything, and the mother can't. So the father is actually more of the perfect fit, but systematically the mother takes care of the child. So we're gonna side with the mother. So that's a systematic issue. So toxic femininity.
It's not toxic femininity. I said that in the beginning. I'm not saying it's right. And I'm saying I'm not saying it's not flawed, but I'm saying though is that toxic femininity, it's still not institutionalized. I'm not saying that systems aren't flawed, but it's not in the same way. Like toxic masculinity has to do with like showing like aggression that can be harmful. Excuse me. and it's about limiting others, like limiting women because they're not considered to be equal. The child support scenario that was included in this letter is wrong. You should not be able to use your children as pawns in order to curry favor with the courts to get more money out of your ex. But it happens. But it happens a lot. Okay, but it also happens a lot that some of these niggas ain't doing nothing. I'm not saying niggas. No, not even saying it. Just fathers. There's fathers out here who are not doing anything, and they do need to pay.
Those are the scum of the fucking earth.
But until you have
those people are the scum of the earth. Anybody who has a child and are not in their children's life because they don't want to deal with the baby mother or whatever is a piece of shit.
Okay.
So,
but how do we? But like, I feel like you're speaking to it like.
I'm speaking to it as
more men are getting people, like the shaft versus
as people
than men who are not.
As people, we have
doing their job.
We have to do a better job of using the system when it needs to be used. Mm-hmm. If there's a father who wants to be in his child's life, his or her child life. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Oh. If they want to be in their children's life, but the mother's upset because the father's moved on and they want to be able to be like, well, I want this money just because I want this. Mm-hmm. Or their girlfriends is like, girl, take him to court, put him on papers.
Uh-huh.
That's bullshit to me.
And it's bullshit. It's equally bullshit, like you said, that if a woman is trying to work with her child's father and he doesn't want to be consistent in turning money, she's trying to avoid taking and putting him, quote unquote, on papers and stuff like that because he's doing the best that he can.
But what's the consistency? Is the consistency saying you got to give me money, or the consistency? Listen, this is the bill. You need to pay this bill. This bill is your responsibility.
It's whatever they agree on. If they agree that it's whatever
they agree on.
Yeah.
But how many times do they agree though?
But if that person doesn't, so okay. Let's put it into context because you and I can only speak to our observations of what we see in media and then also people that we know. We know a pair of parents who co-parent fabulously. There's
fucking
amazingly. We know people who the father is being bled dry because the mother is asking for more and more money and abusing that money. We know parents who even though the father is a piece of shit, the mother still will not go to court because she does not want to doesn't want to go through the process or doesn't want to create a more drama for herself because he is that vindictive. So you got three separate. So just off of that, or just off of the people that you and I know, you have three different scenarios of how people who produce children or a child that are no longer together handle their responsibilities with that child as it comes to custody and finances. It's situational. It's situational, and I'm not
saying that it's not situational.
And so even if it's a third and a third and a third,
it should be situational.
It should be, but
if those three cases went in front of a judge, what do you think the percentage would be that they're going to side with the woman?
But I think that I think in the case of the person we know, like the ain't shit father. So let me say this: in the case of the ain't shit father that we know of. That person, because they have more means and maybe influence, they might end up with more leeway or more have the court side with them. Because
so you really think that the court is going, like, we know that the court is impartial.
I said no, it's not. You're saying it's not impartial because
what do you mean?
Impartial means that you don't have bias.
See,
partial.
You're right.
Partial means that you have a preference.
That's why I married you.
Shut up.
They are partial.
So I said that there is
So that's a systematic issue right there.
But that's still not toxic femininity. And it's still, but because it still stems from the narrative that women are supposed to be the caretakers and the providers. Men are supposed to go out and hunt, and women are supposed to come, they're supposed to bring it home, and a woman is supposed to cook it and feed it to the kids. The point is, though, is that, like, I never said that it wasn't wrong. I said, though, it's not toxic femininity. And until you and I could pull up some like facts or something like that, you're not going to convince me that it's like a 50-50 split. Like half of the men they're brought to court for child support are being, raked over the coals, and then the other half are like ancient dads who deserve to be there. Because I think that it is a flawed system and people get shitted on, but it does not equate to toxic femininity. And dare I say, I don't think it's as many men getting shitted on and raked over the coals in that situation.
You don't think so?
I don't.
Okay. So you think there's more ain't shit men? That's what you think.
But the thing about it, though, is that it's...
That's where the... I
don't even think those are the two...
That's where the toxic masculinity comes. Like, I guess with this, the picture is... men ain't shit, or men ain't gonna be shit, or men aren't gonna be fathers. So,
well, I think there's another category. I think there's another category in this dynamic or this part of this conversation that we haven't even brought up, which are the men who are placed on child support or who even request to be put on child support in order to have a finite amount of money that they know that they have to give, and they do it because it's like, I made the child this person needs it to be supported. Like, there are instances where it works, where the parent, the non-custodial parent pays child support and the custodial parent receives it, and every single cent of that money goes to the needs of the child, whatever that may be. So there's instances of all of these.
Do you think that it's that they highlight more of the negative that men do?
Yeah, but and I'm not saying that that's right either. But I think that is that the association that a lot of people put to in society or in culture that child support is a negative.
I mean, yes, it is, because most of the stories of people who had it put on them feel like they shouldn't have had it put on. But the narrative can change. If your friend ain't shit and you know he ain't shit and he complains about it, you need to be like, shut up, nigga, you don't take care of your kids.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like, you and I think and
so I'll say that, but I hate that we all get generalized. I hate that because there's a few bad apples that the world thinks that there's more bad apples than what it may really be.
I agree, but that's
because no one in my circle that I can think of are just trash ass individuals.
Yeah, but you are who you attract. You attract who you are.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, when the narrative comes out that men are toxic.
It's not that men are toxic. It's just there's toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
All men are not. Not display toxic masculinity.
I never hear the narrative that some men have toxic masculinity. I never hear the narrative of the positive of the male.
I think,
and I'm not gonna say never. I take that back. I rarely hear the positive of the male. I hear more of the negative, and we have to apologize for other trash ass males for what they've done and what men have done historically.
Well, what I'll say is this: is that it sucks, but that's kind of the same issues that we experience as people of color, I experience as a woman. That, like, anytime you are a part of a community. And it's not fair to be kind of looked at as like a monolith, like as a representation of all your sex or all your race or whatever. Like you're not the representative for all things male, all things black. That's not right. But it's a reality.
You're right. It is a reality, but it's an unfair reality. And I'm glad we're having a conversation. I'm a black male, so automatically people are going to assume that as a black male that I'm either a drug dealer or a gangbanger or that I don't take care of my kids. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not a fair.
It's not.
You don't even know me.
It's not.
Because of the thought of the black male, I can get shot for being in the wrong neighborhood. I could be shot visiting my friend, but because I look like somebody or because the cops are afraid of me. So that's my thing. Like, I think it's unfair when it's like I have to take on the burden of what other men have done.
That's true, and I think that's just and that's a, I'm not gonna say like a taste, but it's like it's a similar situation to how women and specifically black women have to bear the burdens and the stereotypes and associations that we have too. It happens to every group, and it's not fair, but it's a reality that we have to do, and we have to combat it. Toxic masculinity is a not a new term, but a term that's been used more prevalently in recent years. But I think too, because it's being called out more for what it is, because people are saying that shit ain't okay, and because that's the only way that you can change the narrative. So you can call out trash ass mothers who are trying to profit off the system, whatever, in order to change the narrative, but it's just,
so let's have the narrative.
But then toxic masculinity.
But let's also have the narrative of the positive that people do.
Absolutely. But
I'm not saying to you.
I'm
not saying it to you. I'm just saying, in general, it's just like life. You know what I mean? There's going to be some good shit, there's going to be some bad shit.
And everybody remembers the negative.
You're right. But let's push forward of the negatives are there, but let's look at the positives.
And I'll say, and I mean, you may disagree or you may not agree, whatever, because of the crux of our conversation. But like, quite honestly, like especially when it comes to black men, nobody is championing y'all. Can't talk right now more than black women. Like, as a collective, as a whole, black women celebrate black men, but some black women feel like it's not always reciprocated. But I'm not even going to get into that part right now. But what I'm saying is,
I think that's another argument.
That's another argument. But I'm telling you, like because when y'all are killed unfairly, when you are demonized and everything like that, there are black women who step up to the front and say, no, not him. No, he is more than just what you see and what he looks like or his size or anything else like that. And so it's about, like you said, though, it's about highlighting the positives in every group and socioeconomic status and race and gender and sexuality, because there are trash ass people that fall into every category, but they do not represent the whole. But there's a lot of unlearning that has to happen with toxic masculinity for a lot of men, because and I'm not saying that people, they get it honestly, but like, it's something that's passed down. So therefore it takes a lot to unlearn something that you thought was always supposed to be normal. But like, toxic masculinity is like something that needs to be unlearned. As toxic masculinity is, a woman is walking down the street and a man catcalls her and she ignores him, or she says no thank you, and now it's like, well then fuck you, bitch. I don't like your fucking stupid ass anyway. I should knock you in your fucking head. Any combination of that, because that's a reality. That's toxic masculinity. You saw me, you were attracted to me, to a woman. What? Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm waiting to hear where you were going.
And because I did not reciprocate those feelings.
Oh, you mean the catcalling? Yeah, the catcalling. You wasn't talking about me personally.
No, I'm talking about in general.
I thought you was going back to when
we first met?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I just had to make sure. Because you came at me first. But go ahead.
He's so full of shit.
Finish it.
So, a man catcalls a woman. She doesn't respond in the way he likes, and now he's verbally assaulting her. That's toxic masculinity. This gone so far as some people have like accosted women because they haven't responded, grabbing them, touching them, stuff like that. That's toxic masculinity. The homophobia, that's steeped in toxic masculinity. That's the stuff that has to be changed, because and the reason why and the reason why it is what it is, because it has to do with the power dynamic. Biology does show that most, in general, men are arguably stronger, physically stronger than women. So there's that control that men can have over women simply because of biology, and that is why it can be that domination can be imposed upon them if they don't get their way. And those type of things, and that's just a few like examples that popped into my head, have to be combated and have to be, because those things are truly like clear-cut examples of toxic masculinity. But just because, to answer this listener's question,
I was gonna ask you just answer the questions,
which I did.
No, I mean just one last time, like a quick.
Toxic masculinity.
Is it considered toxic femininity?
No.
Okay. What is considered toxic femininity?
It's not a thing.
So I love her. She doesn't love you. She called you a listener.
Shut up. I call everybody listeners.
Thanks for the question. You know, we were able to kind of go back on it and, you know, learn some things. And, you know, it wasn't really something I would have talked about, but got to be different. Got to be open to learning and talking about things. So
absolutely,
we appreciate you, lover.
Thank you for that question.
And now,
although we've come to the end of the road.
That took you way too long to get there. We are at our quarrel.
Go ahead. I know I've done a lot of talking. I'm a little parched.
No, yeah, you sound parched.
You know,
but
I
love
did.
Talking.
I talked a lot. I let out a lot of like liquid today. I am a little dehydrated.
You did shed some tears today.
Yeah, and they weren't even thug tears. They were just real tears.
But it can be thug tears.
I'm a thug.
See, that's when you lose it. You know what I mean?
So
we are going to discuss. I felt like we should talk about the Dwayne Wade son situation. So, it started a few weeks ago when his son
was in
did a fashion show.
Yes,
and that's when it kind of sparked the conversation.
Yeah,
and then probably last week they did Miami Pride, and the son was happy out and about, living his best life. And then D Wade final game was on the 10th, which was also my alphaversary. Shout out to my LBs, Springton SPX.
Happy alphaversary.
So he was there, and they took a picture, and I seen people saying like they didn't realize that it was a boy because he looked like a girl. And you know, it kind of, I've heard people talk about it. We talked about it. People were talking about it at work, and like they feel like he's too young to know that he's gay, and he's too young to do it. And then, you know, people are saying that it's what we're being exposed to on the television and stuff like that. So I felt like we should kind of, I mean, it's not going to be a real quarrel in the sense that me and you are going at each other, because me and you kind of have the same ideas on that.
Maybe it's us going against the people who maybe disagree with us.
Probably.
Okay.
But I just figured we can kind of, you know, talk about it. Because, you know, I'm a big believer that, and this is just from like growing up in New York, and, you know, I remember reading books before the internet, and, you know, they talked about like homosexuality and how it's something that is, people are born gay. It's not something that they choose. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some people out there who choose and they experiment, but the majority, like if I had to bet my life, I would say that someone who's identified as gay didn't choose it. Like it's something that they were born. But
yes,
you know, I just wanted to kind of have that conversation with you, and you know, do you think that they are showing too much, as they would say, gay stuff on television and
Nope.
stuff like that.
Nope. I don't think we have enough representation of people who are part of the LGBTQ community on our media platforms, because that's why representation matters. If you see people who look like you, who identify as gay, straight, trans, bi, queer, intersex in your daily consumption of media, then it normalizes it. And if things get normalized, that means that you don't become a target. You're not looked at as you're less likely to be looked at as an other or something like that. It's it's not a shock to your system. So hell no, I don't think that the exposure or whatever has anything to do with like how kids are, because kids see they watch cartoons all the time, and yet they're not sitting there trying to drop an anvil on somebody's head the next chance that they get, so they can miss me with the bullshit with that. Then
music.
Even
though there are some people, like, I know I've heard of people who've heard some gangster music, thought they were gangster, but I used to listen to profanity laced music as a young kid, but I never, I knew that this shit wasn't real. Like, I knew that me listening to like music with explicit music, like with explicit lyrics, didn't mean that I can now curse at my parents. Or, I knew, like, I didn't listen to music and be like, they're talking about having sex, so I gotta have sex. Or, I think it kind of comes back to like not training, but
your upbringing,
raising your children to know right is right, wrong is wrong, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, I applaud what D Wade and them are doing.
Absolutely.
And if my child came to me and said that they were gay, I'm gonna take them serious.
Absolutely.
We can definitely go speak with a psychologist or whatever, just so we can make sure that this is truly how you feel and everything else. But I'm never gonna be like.
Well, I mean, I would suggest therapy only to like maybe learn how to like cope with the world out there that doesn't may not accept them or accept that person.
That's the psychologist, but yeah, I think therapy would be needed, and I'm not saying to like try to change your mind.
No, I'm not saying that you change your mind, but you said to like make sure they're sure. But I feel like
to confirm, like to make sure that we understand what's going on with them, because again, it will be something new to me. It'll be like if my child had a disability, I would probably find a specialist to just make sure that we understood what the disability was. Again, my wording may have been wrong, but
I mean, I think it would be a situation where it would be like I think it's important to maybe even sometimes bring in the experts, because if your family dynamic requires, you might need some extra support in understanding this new reality, and then also making sure that your child has the support needed in order to face the ugly that's going to be thrown their way when they go out into this world, then absolutely. But like people saying like, oh, he's 11, how does he even know he's gay? Like, why are y'all bringing him there, this, that, and the other? Well, when you were 11, did you know that you were straight? I'm pretty sure you did by that point. If you were maybe a late bloomer and you weren't paying attention to boys or girls at that point, at some point in time, you came to the realization about who you were attracted to, and then you proceeded as normal. But because being straight is the normalized sexual orientation, it goes without saying, like, that's the baseline, that's the standard. We're really and honestly, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know about people choosing like, oh, the people who want to experiment and stuff like that, because the older I've gotten and the more information I've received and learned, the more I kind of side with like sexuality and sexual orientation is a spectrum. It's fluid. People fall on different parts of the spectrum, going back to Zion, he's 11, so he can't, like, I like somebody that said like, he can't know he's gay at 11, but we can talk about 5-year-olds and having like little girlfriends and little boyfriends and like, you know, giving Valentine's Day gifts and stuff in kindergarten but that's okay. Like you're assuming you're presuming that, you know, your child is straight and whatever, and then it's like, you know, oh, it's like a little cute little love fest and this and the other. But if it was 2 boys or 2 girls, oh, now it's problematic, or now they're too young to know what they like or anything like that. You know, and by no means am I saying that anyone needs to impress upon their child a sexual orientation or a preference, but they damn sure shouldn't be telling or making their child feel like if you're not this way, there's going to be a problem. You know, it pisses me off, especially now that I'm a mother. Like, there's no way on God's green earth that my child is going to come out of the closet, is going to identify as trans, is not identify, but is going to be trans, is whatever it is. There's no way that my child is going to feel like they cannot be who they are when they're in the safety of my home or in my presence. There's enough hate and ugliness and bitterness and animosity out in that world for them to deal with all the time. You're not getting that from here. I am always going to be home. I am always going to be your safe space. If you have no other safe space, your safe space is with me because I had you and you're my child. So the fact that Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union are supporting their son in how he wants to express himself, and they're taking him to Pride and they're letting him do that stuff, that is showing that little black boy that he is perfectly okay being who he is, and that he is loved and accepted. And I think it's so dope and so important because obviously basketball, the NBA, is a, you know, arguably maybe the most tolerant of the professional sports leagues, arguably, but at the same time, like, there's still plenty of homophobia and toxic masculinity that runs rampant, especially through the sports world. But the fact that, like, his father is posting these pictures and showing his love and support of his son. I mean, his family, brother,
his older brother.
Somebody might see that.
His stepmom.
Yeah.
Like,
and somebody else might see that and be like, well, damn, if Dwayne Wade can accept his son, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe, like, I respect Dwayne Wade because he does all of these great things too. And so, like, like, sometimes people need to see it and it needs to be modeled in order for you to understand, like, for people to understand, like, maybe it isn't a fucking big deal. And so,
it shouldn't be. Yeah, it's not as big of a deal. I mean, listen, I'd rather my child be gay than be like a rapist, a murderer. Like, there's so much other worse shit you can.
Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with being gay.
You know what I mean? No, but I'm just saying, your child can be dying. Like, you know what I mean? So, I just think that as a society, we have to grow. We have to grow and you know, mind our business. Because, yeah, the Wades are posting it, but hey, that's not our household. Especially for those who don't like it. Like, if you don't like it, but people posting nasty comments and homophobic comments, like, that's bullshit.
Fuck them.
That's a little kid. That's a little kid. Well, I want to say a little child, but that's a little kid.
It's like, a little boy, absolutely. What's that, 5th grade? Yeah.
You know, so
it takes, and you know, and like and the thing about it too, it's probably because he has the love and support of his family. It takes so much courage to live your truth, especially at such a young age. But
he's probably so happy.
He is, but you know what? And I would implore more families to be supportive of their children if they are LGBTQ or anything, because if you start accepting and loving your child at home for who they are, they will be happier. And when people are happier, they live productive, happy lives, and they don't end up lashing out or harboring rage and resentment or start using drugs
or suicide
or killing themselves or hurting other people or taking sexual risks because they don't want to, you know, acknowledge what they're doing, so they have unprotected sex. And then a lot of that stems from them not feeling safe enough with anyone or with the people who mattered most to them. And so
They have to mask who
They
they are.
have to mask who they are. So
if I don't use a condom, then
it
never
didn't happen.
happened. Yeah.
A condom is an acknowledgement that I'm participating in something. Like the fact that I mean, I don't know if it's changed or whatever, but like I remember growing up, I'm hearing like, you know, they don't like give out condoms in jail or in prison, because then it's like, oh, you're like promoting sex. They fucking anyway. A lot of them. And so why not have it be safe? Because that way when they come home, if and when they come home, they're not passing anything on that they may have contracted in prison to whomever they're sleeping with after they get out of prison. But ultimately, in my book, that's parenting done right. And I aspire to be that way with Tatum and with any of the children. And it not even have to do with anything about being like gay or straight or anything like that.
It's just about being a parent.
It's about being supportive of your child and whatever quote unquote differences that they have or what if they don't have.
You got to make sure you word that right, because someone would be like, what if your child want to be a murderer? Are you going to support that? You know?
And yeah, I get it.
I'm just saying,
yeah.
People will take what you're saying and try to flip it.
Well, I'm gonna quote my father-in-law. Like, some of those people are fucking idiots. Yeah. So like, it is.
Yeah.
It's like that's what parenting is. You don't pick your children. They don't pick their parents. And our responsibility is to raise you to be a decent human being and to love you through the good times and the bad and to be there for you. That's it. And that's all kids want anyway. Like, kids, yeah, buying them nice shit and stuff like that.
They want to be happy.
They just want to be happy. And like, they're happy 99.9% of the time when they know that they feel like they're safe and they're loved and supported.
But it starts at home. So, I mean, the fact that they're there is important. I don't know. Like, so again, I've heard that there's a lot of shows that show gay stuff happening, and I don't know what that is. I haven't come across it, or cartoons or whatever.
It's probably just more than what a generation has grown to see. Like, maybe more now than not.
Who are saying that, I feel like TV, social, like all that stuff shouldn't be raising your kids. They should be able to see that and not think nothing of it. But if your child is influenced by that, then you're not doing your job.
I don't even think that the kids are truly influenced by that.
I'm not saying that they are.
I know you're not saying that. What
I'm saying that for the people who believe
that it has an influence.
There's people out there who believe that Zion is gay because of what he sees on social media.
He saw two boys kissing and he was like, oh, I'm signing up for that.
Or TV. Mm-hmm. And what I'm trying to say is that if you believe that your child can be influenced by what they see, then your child, you're not raising a strong child. Mm-hmm. And you should be more worried about anything else, because that means that they could be like, they could be like, join the gang. They're going to join the gang. They're going to be like, let's rob something. They're going to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's about raising your children, being present in their lives and in their upbringing, and not letting the outside world raise your children, but also understanding that just because your child watches something or is exposed to something doesn't mean that they're automatically going to take up whatever it is that they've seen or heard. I think the media does absolutely have an influence, but it's about making sure that your influence is stronger, and that and having those conversations in order to let them know that. But as far as representation, we need more representation. We need more LGBTQ characters on TV. We need more people of color. We need more different religions. We need more women. We just need more. We need our film and television and social media and radio and whatever else. We need it to be more reflective of the population of the world. Everybody on this planet is different. And it's not just white people, straight white people. And so the more representation we have, the more normalized things will become, the less stigmatized things will become, and people will kind of get over themselves and get over whatever it is that they think is wrong with people's sexuality or people's race or with women or with Muslims, because it stems back to fear, and then a lack of exposure. When you're not exposed to people's differences, you grow fearful of them. And then when you're fearful of them, you start to hate them because they're different, or you don't understand it, and you don't want to take the time to understand it. And then that's when you start to like demonize people because of their differences, and that's not okay. But the way that you combat that is by putting people's differences on the front, on center stage all the time. Because if I see it all the time, I start to understand it, and it just becomes a non-issue. It is what it is. So, shout out to Gabby and Dwayne.
So, if that's the case, they need to normalize black people, shows being successful, so people can.
Yeah, and we have that. We have that, but it's not where it needs to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, based off of your words, they need to give us more stuff so people can see us like winning more outside of like basketball or sports.
Yeah, that's why Blackish is so dope.
Yeah, but I mean, so we have Blackish and Grownish, but we don't have. It's not like for every Blackish and Grownish, there's probably 10 other shows out there.
There's still That's
what
more.
I'm saying.
Yeah, it's we are miles away from wherever the goal is, but it's why. But that's why shows like those are so important ultimately, because every chance we get to be,
we got to support us too.
We do.
It goes both ways. If the support is there, then they can create.
True that.
So, before we yield, I just wanted to vent. Because people are selling the obituaries from Nipsey Hussle's funeral on eBay. And I just want to say, again, those type of people are scum of the earth.
Less than that.
And listen, I know it may take a lot of time, but if you have an eBay account, go on there and report that shit. Like, something that's free, like celebrating somebody's life, and you want to make a buck off of it.
Everything's not meant to be monetized.
Like, you have to be the worst person in the world to try to make a buck off of someone's death. You know, ultimately, I just think as people, we got to do better.
I agree.
And we got to hold our friends accountable and our family accountable. And we have to be okay with getting the criticism. And you know what? You could be upset when you get that. But take a step back afterwards and say, you know what? Is what they're saying right? And if it is, you can respectfully go back to them and be like, you know what? I apologize for the way that I took it. I wasn't in the right space. But we have to hold each other accountable, from holding kids accountable, from holding our partners, our friends, our male counterparts, our female counterparts. People have to be held accountable.
I agree.
This world is wicked. And the only way it's going to get better is if we take a stand. Again, we know that this world has evil in it. I'm not saying that you got to go out your way and try to like stop a robbery or anything crazy like that, but just be better people. I think we just have to be better people. You know what I mean? Take from Nipsey and just be a better person. He was a Crip who was cool with Bloods and everybody. You know what I mean?
I get it.
So
it's all about doing better.
Yeah, and it takes nothing to do better.
Do better as people, do better as parents, do better as friends,
everything.
Do better as... Yeah.
We only get one life to live. And, you know, what Nipsey did in 33 years, some people can't do a quarter of that. You know what I mean? We just got to be better people. And it takes nothing to be better people. But to those selling obituaries, you're a piece of shit. And then with that...
I hope you step on all the fucking Legos.
Legos?
You ever step on a Lego?
Hope your car get booted.
I hope you get a paper cut in between your toes. So that way it's like really hard to get to.
How's it really hard to get to? I've never had a paper cut between my toes.
Oh, then you don't know how hard it is to get to. When you got a shoe on and you got a paper cut. I can't imagine. I mean, I've never had one either, but I'd imagine it doesn't feel good.
Anyway. So with that, this has been yet another episode of Lovers Quarrel. If this is your first time listening to us, we appreciate you for checking us out.
Sure
if
do.
it's your second time, thank you for coming back. And if you are a lover,
A long-time lover.
you already know I appreciate the shit out of you.
And so do I.
I didn't say that, but I mean, you guys speak for yourself.
Wow.
You listen. Please continue listening. Tell your friends. Rate us. Positive and negative. Listen, we could take criticism. We just want to be better. But this is so therapeutic for us. And, well, therapeutic, for us. Because I can speak for us again.
Okay.
Listen, continue sending your letters to loversquarrelshow@gmail.com. You know, give us questions. Tell us whatever you want. If you want us to look for some new guests to have on, let us know who you want. Follow us on IG at Lovers Quarrel Show. Follow us on Twitter at Lovers Quarrel 7. And, you know, this has been yet another episode of Lovers Quarrel. I am your guy, TJ.
And I am your girl, Dani. And as always, we fuss.
We fight.
But we love.
Bye.
Bye. Don't take my closing.
Bye.
You such a hater.
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.